guys, today we're going to do 6-4 probability. They could do a whole chapter on probability, but this is just a quick overview. Okay, so probability 6-4. Okay, so there are some vocab. You need to write all these vocab down and know what they mean. Okay, so outcomes, and I have them written out here. Outcomes is possible results of an action. Okay, so for example, whoops, I actually need to get in the writing. So for example, there are 6 outcomes when you roll a dice. There are 6 possible outcomes when you roll one dice. One 6-sided dice. There's 6 outcomes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, if you rolled 2 dice, there'd obviously be a lot more outcomes. So, which we'll eventually get to that stuff. An event is any outcome or group of outcomes. Outcomes are called favorable. So what that means, here's an example of that. So if you roll 2, they call them number cubes, which is the same as dice. Okay, so if you roll 2 number cubes in your book, they call them number cubes. Rolling a sum of 4 is an event. This kind of clarifies what I was talking about. Is an event corresponding to 3 favorable outcomes. So your outcomes could be, let me change my picture or my color here. Your outcomes could be, you could roll a 1 and a 3, you could roll a 2 and a 2, or you could roll a 3 and a 1. All of those add up to 4. Those are your 3 favorable outcomes. Okay, and the event is that you're going to roll a 4. Okay, the sum of a 4, not actual 4. Okay, so that's just some vocab there. Next, okay, so this is kind of the meat of it. Probability, it's also can be written as this, P and then the event, the favorable outcome that you're looking for, is the number of favorable outcomes over the number of possible outcomes. You have to write this because in a minute we're going to do odds, which is a little different. So favorable outcomes over the total possible outcomes. Okay, so it's kind of part over whole. What is the probability of rolling an even number on a 6-sided dice? Okay, well, on a 6-sided dice you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the only even numbers are 2, 4, and 6. So there's 3 possibilities out of the total number of outcomes. Well, the total number of outcomes would be 6. 3 out of 6. Okay, and you can, you need to reduce it. So it would be 1/2. The outcome, the probability would be 1/2. Okay. So if using the same dice, what this means is what's the probability of rolling a 2? Well, there's only 1 2 on a dice, so it would be 1 out of 6. This is the probability of rolling a 5 or a 6. Okay, so again, you just have 1 dice, so a 5 or a 6, there's two possibilities to roll a 5 or 6. Whoops. I did not mean to do that. See if I can get this back to how it was. Whoops. Of course. There we go. Probability of a 5 or 6 is 2 out of 6, which would be 1/3. I wonder if I hit. I don't know what I did. Okay. Okay, so the probability again is the number of favorable outcomes over the total possible outcomes. Okay, probability is on a scale from 0 to 1. Okay, so what that means is you have 0 all the way over here till 1. Okay, so you have a half in here and 3/4 and 1/4 and all those things. And what that's saying is 0 is, it is impossible. So it is impossible. If I said, what's the probability of rolling a 0 on a number cube that's numbered 1 through 6, it would be 0. 0 out of 6 or just 0. Okay. Number 1 would be that it's a certain. What's the probability of rolling a number 1 through 6 on a number cube? Well, it's a 1 or a 6 out of 6. Okay. And then in between there, okay, so this is half, you know, it's half as likely. Okay. And, you know, you guys know, closer to 0, it's less likely, more to 1, it's more likely, okay? But when we're dealing with probability, your numbers should always be from 0 to 1, okay? And it's okay to be 0 and it's okay to be 1, okay? So a complement is the opposite of an event. So for example, no rain and rain are complements of each other, okay? So the probability of an event plus its complement will always equal 1. Okay, if the probability of it raining is 1 out of 4, then the probability of it not raining would be 3 out of 4. If you add those together, it would equal 1. We'll do some examples on the next page, or an example. So the probability of having having twins is 2 out of 90. What is the complement of having twins? Another way to write that would be probability of not having a twin or not being a twin. Okay, so instead of 2 out of 90, it would be 98 out of 90. Okay, you can think of it as 1 minus 2 out of 90. Oops, I totally wrote that wrong. I was thinking out of 100. Whoops, let me erase that. I'm out of practice. It's 88, right? See? So this is 88 out of 90. Because 88 plus 2 would give you 90. Okay, or if you did 90 over 90, 90 minus 2 would be 88. So 88 out of 90 would be the complement. Okay? So before, when we had probability, remember, was number of favorable outcomes over the total outcomes. Well, this is when you need to know this, because odds is number of favorable outcomes over number of unfavorable outcomes. So there's a difference there. Probability is out of the total, or the total's on the bottom. Odds is number of favorable over unfavorable, so it matters what they're asking for. So let's do one example. There's a bag with 5 red and 6 blue marbles. What are the odds of grabbing a red marble? So if you just put your hand in there, the odds of grabbing a red marble, so probable is red, favorable is red, unfavorable is blue. So red would be 5, blue would be 6. It would be 5 out of 6 are your odds. Okay? Now, then it says, what is the probability of grabbing a red? Well, the red is still 5, so this would be red over total. Total possible outcomes. Well, 5, and you would add 5 and 6 to get 11. Okay, so this is odds, this is very important, and this is probability. This is probably the most important part in this section. Probability. Okay, this is probably the most important part, is knowing the difference between odds and probability. Okay, I think I have a little comment for you. Being an adult means never having to show your work on a math problem. It is as awesome as it sounds, kids.